You're watching the USL on CBS Sports, presented by Best Western. That is the magnificent Monongahela River in the Steel City of Pittsburgh. The championship presents the Riverhounds and Loudoun United. Take a look at the Eastern Conference standings, where Lowden is 6 points clear of Pittsburgh. A win, they move alongside the Eastern elite of Louisville and Charleston. They can also move 9 points clear of the Hounds. And good evening, everyone. Joined by Devin Kerr, Mike Watts on hand, and a happy Sunday. This portends to be a really good matchup, Devin. It's two sides that I think could really prove a point tonight.
They certainly deserve to be where they're at, right? But when you start with Loudoun United, for me, this is about sustainability for the best start in team history. They've never been in a top four position this deep in the season, but feeling some pressure after struggling for some form. Pittsburgh Riverhounds, they're heating things up right now, and I want to start right there with the Hounds and how good they've been at home this year, Mike. The season started very interesting for them. They wanted to dominate possession. They sat, controlled the ball, moved side to side. They did it impressively, and they were scoring some goals, but they were conceding too much. That's not what the success of this team is built on. Their DNA is about how good they are defensively. So 6 games into the year, their manager, Bob Lilly, made a more concerted effort to sit deeper. They changed the structure of the overall team. They absorbed more pressure. But from a metrics standpoint, everything was on the uptick. The only thing they're looking at right now is more goals. That's where they've struggled over the last 9 matches.
Conversely, Loudoun United typically concede way too many goals. They don't win enough games. This year has totally broken the trend.
Ryan Martin kept a quality group, so much so that 9 of the starting 11 tonight returned from last year. That's unheard of for them. They have a lot of player turnover. His recruiting was very similar. It's about discipline, it's about commitment and work ethic, and all the backgrounds of the players are committed to this process. What it is about Loudoun United, though, is that they are balanced, Mike. We've never seen that from them before. They are about to smash every single record that they've set before.
No doubt, but it's going to be a little more difficult tonight for Loudoun United. We knew Zach Ryan would be unavailable. A red card suspension carries over from last week. Abdulatif Abakora is the Golden Boot leader in the championship, Devin. It's precautionary, but he's out due to injury tonight.
Goals are going to be the big question for Loudoun, but you do get a different look here. So Ryan Martin has always wanted to overload the midfield, try and go with a single pivot. It puts players up high. It allows them to be a bit more free-flowing. It also allows them to control a little bit more centrally. This lineup tonight, in the absence of Zach Ryan and Abakora, is about work rate. It's about pressure up high, creating turnovers on second chance opportunities, shrink the field, Mike, but still with high chance creation in the absence of your 2 most important attacking players.
A chance tonight for Loudoun to set the tone for Pittsburgh to pull ever closer to the top 4. A fun one in the championship is coming your way next from Pittsburgh. It's the Hounds and Loudoun next on CBS Sports Network. the USL Championship on CBS Sports, presented by Best Western. We come to you from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, the convergence of three rivers, Highmark Stadium, hosting the Riverhounds and Loudoun United. Devin, take a look at the starting 11, an unchanged 11 for Bob Lilly.
We referenced the change in the open mic about how 6 games in, Bob Lilly decided to drop a little bit deeper, but there's still freedom within this unit overall. Robbie Mertz and Charles Aul have a great defensive work rate, but I'm looking as they go forward, that midfield space just in front of Walty and Griffin, underneath Mertz and Aul. If they want to score more goals, they got to move more in synchronicity into the final third together. Now, Ryan Martin and Loudoun United. Giannis Learman comes back in from his red card suspension. That's the good news. The bad news is, as we talked about, no Zach Ryan and no Abu Kora. So within that, they do have 3 midfielders available. Dominate centrally. There'll be strength in numbers. They want to keep this thing up high, though. The whole idea here is that front line, if they don't get it on the first chance, it's winning second and third opportunities, compressing the field, high pressure against the Hounds on the road.
Velo at the age of 32, the eldest member of the Loudoun starting lineup here tonight. Believe it or not, the youngest player starting for either side this evening. And gets the first touch here in Pittsburgh. Close out the weekend with us here on CBS Sports Network. It is the Riverhounds welcoming Loudoun United. And Bidwa sends early service. Ricocheted toward Wesley Leggett. Bounced out. Think he sends the service. Bounces off through the backside. Devin, if you are an avid watcher of the championship, good chance you understand what Loudoun's done this year relative to years past. If you're maybe a passing fancy in this league, you might be utterly shocked. And yet, you and I have been around Ryan Martin and a lot of the players involved in this team long enough to not be shocked that it finally came together once they got the continuity to do it.
This is a slow burn for this team. That it's about identity, and I think that's an easy cop-out phrase, but I don't mean it in the sense of this group of players in this season. What the ownership group is going to be, what sort of finances are available for this front office to go and attack the roster overall. Ryan Martin hasn't really had regularity within that, possibly ever, Mike. This is the first season that he's had the opportunity to be able to do as such. So within that, you get a quality roster build, the familiarity within it, heavily influenced from the collegiate game. Also, players that they've actually been able to return from last year's roster. They had a massive turnover rate, and so within that, you struggle with inflexibility within the roster, consistency with ideas. That's not the case anymore.
Bounces away from Barnes, and no one is surprised at where Pittsburgh stands at the moment. Only 12 goals conceded in their first 14 games, tied for the best defense coming into the weekend in the championship. As Giannis Learman circles back, his return to Pittsburgh was part of a College Cup team, the Pitt Panthers.
I think the real question for me on the night's going to be, with the change for Loudoun, Mike, discussing the ideas for Ryan Martin ahead of time coming into this match about, that he's never had the ability to have Moses Nyman, Drew Skundrich, and Tommy McCabe all available at once. This is kind of an ace in the hole since they've thought about it at the beginning of the season, but really the first time they're deploying it. So if you're going to dominate there, how direct are you going to be for a team that likes to dominate possession throughout the season?
Velo trying to flick through, came off of Leggett. Leggett goes down, referee looks on, Leggett regains his footing, hits the end line, and the service is popped out by Vactor, who turns 25 years old today. Signed the second week of April to the Hounds.
What you just saw right there, that was exactly what Ryan Martin was talking about, right? Play up over the top, they get into a one-on-one situation. Doesn't matter if it's going to be Velo trying to poach underneath and pick up second possession, or Leggett going direct. They reestablish their defensive line and then maintain it up high, get a corner out of it.
How do you feel about the patches on the elbow from Ryan Martin?
Well, I got to tell you, it's not often I get to have this discussion. Ryan Martin and I, apparently we share an affinity for the same clothing brand. Who knew? I love it.
Florian Velo sends the service, comes away toward Nyman, blasted from range above the bar. That did take a deflection, will be another set piece.
Still the overall idea, second chances on a restart or not. Just 25 yards out. Kwame Awua probably not given enough credit, both he and Keegan Tingy, for the responsibility they carry within this system. Nearly creates the opener.
Valo came high toward Nyman, shipped out toward halfway. What brand is that, by the way?
Paisley and Gray.
Oh.
Didn't know, did you?
I did not. Is this like Rent the Runway on steroids?
Yeah.
I read your Instagram stories. I know what it is.
I didn't
Also,
even
your
know you could
most
read.
common photographer. Well,
You are the most common photographer.
here's Learman. Knocked away in that pocket of space. Griffin touches over.
Good pressure.
Swung out toward Charles All. It's the call to start for just the third time this season.
What you see throughout the night from the Pittsburgh Riverhounds, real clean defensive lines. Perry Barnes, Luke Biasi will drop down. They'll help absorb space on the width. It makes Robbie Mertz and Charles All work a little bit more off the ball defensively. But they have been excellent over the last 9. They went from averaging about a goal against to right around 3/4, 0.77. Turning up results left and right outside the playoff line to now in the conversation for being a tie for the top 4. Of course, the tiebreaker would favor North Carolina FC. You don't need to tell the Hounds that, though. All that matters is they have closed a ton of ground over the last 4 weeks.
All the way down to Faroux. Up for McCabe. Moses Nyman. Leggett couldn't hang on through that challenge. All. Biasi. Leggett trying to stride in behind. Ball whipped across and tapped in. Loudoun United's grabbed the opening goal. It's Riley Benoit. Teams find it nearly impossible to beat Pittsburgh at Highmark. Well, Loudoun's off to a dream start.
Recognizing that it's 7 minutes in. This is a coaching masterclass by Ryan Martin. Everything we spoke about in our pregame call was about this. Win the first ball, win the second ball. Being able to stretch into the final third, extending the quick run down in and creating one-on-one opportunities. The speed of Wes Leggett, incredible as he gets down in, doesn't hesitate whatsoever, just drops this right on a dime in front of Benoit. And for just the 5th time in 37 appearances for Loudoun, hits the back of the net.
New Zealand international who missed the Olympic Games last year due to injury. They brought him in this year and thought he'd provide real competition for Zach Ryan up front, with Ryan out due to a red card suspension following the 0-0 draw at home against Orange County last weekend. Benoit strikes the opening blow. Closed down by Valo. This can be Pittsburgh at their best. Flying forward after winning the ball across toward Augie Williams. Williams, 78 goals in his career, 5th most in championship history. Mertz and the Hounds able to turn it away.
It's time for Cohen corner kick.
And set up a set piece. Here's Hugo Faroux, 5th year in the championship, 3rd at Loudoun, time in Austin and Charleston previous. Mertz, the corner. Penalty. That caught an elevated arm. Player down for Lowden. And it is, as quick as it arrived, a disastrous return for Pittsburgh on the other end.
Interestingly enough, this is actually a shove in behind on Yannis Learman, which is why his hand goes so high, and he's hurt here. Pressure as the ball's whipped in by Robbie Mertz, and watch the center of your screen. That's Sean Suber, who just gets on the lower portion of Yannis Learman. And the leverage right there as he pushes, all of a sudden his momentum comes. Still, your hand should not come up like that. That's not a natural motion. It's away from the body, almost swiping at it. Self-inflicted or not, the correct decision. And an opportunity for a quick response from the Hounds.
There is no VAR in the championship. Elton Garcia making the call. Learman, who is three-time All-American Conference at UCF and then finished his college career at Pitt, had a difficult landing at the tail end of that. So Lowden with the lead in the 7th minute. Pittsburgh has a chance to equalize.
I want you to keep an eye on the back line here because they're actually set defensively. Even though you get pulled out into the corner, the two center backs are in the right spot. Sean Suber, as he shifts over here, that's on Beto Idrach. He's got to start to step inside. The communication has to be better from the center of the back line all the way to that right center back position. That's the argument from Eric Dick, because 2 out of the 4 do their job. The other 2 hang him out to dry. Could have easily eliminated that threat, and instead, excellently worked by Lowden on the opening goal.
So Bidwa, the opener, could just as soon be erased. Augie Williams has a chance to move into a tie for 4th in league history with a goal here. 78 times he's produced a bulge in the old onion bag. Williams against Faroux. Williams scores! Number 79!
Let's go back to the infraction first. Credit to the Hounds, who immediately pick the emotion up, long ball into the corner, goes out for a corner, and then Robbie Mertz puts it in a good spot. Contact, absolutely, but still, hand cannot be away from the body. And as such, one of the more consistent over the past 5 seasons, Augie Williams, now tied for 4th all-time in USL Championship history. 79 regular season goals and counting, but the only one that matters to them right now is the one on the scoreboard, and it's 1-1.
Penalty in the 12th minute for Williams moves him level with Haji Berry in a tie for 4th in league history. And the Paul Child stand erupts. Tingy, offside. There's Bob Lilly. Are there any coaches in America with more wins than him? In short, no. Over 410 victories in an illustrious career that's seen him named Coach of the Year 5 separate times. Won the double in Rochester, has won the Supporters Shield in Pittsburgh. And I know, Dev, you and I had a chance to talk to him here this week. It had been a little while, and I think we both walked away going, I miss that. That was great.
He's a brilliant mind. Bob Lilly is certainly a servant of the game, a great study of it as well, and he's more than happy to share all of that information with you. The ideas that have popped out of his mastermind over the years. I joked with Ryan Martin pregame about it, that I said that, you know, years ago, felt like I was trying to solve a Rubik's Cube when the lineup card was submitted to me from Bob Lilly, and while the decisions seem a bit more apparent as the years have gone on, the quality of teams that he's put out certainly has not faded, has it?
Same as it ever was. Learman. Jay Vidovich said one of the top 3 center backs I've ever coached. And he's seen quite a few. Sun-drenched suddenly here in Pittsburgh. That collision of bodies ultimately sees Griffin earn a free kick. Pittsburgh winners of 3 in a row, 4 of their last 5. Well, they conceded their 13th goal this season. They've now scored their 13th. Hold this level. Suber short-armed it. Velo looking forward, and there's Dick. Biasi. Backed away from Florian Velo. And the ball at Dick's feet. Tommy McCabe, the Orange County title-winning team in 2021.
I like the ideas we're seeing so far from the single pivot midfield. Tommy McCabe dropping down underneath by his lonesome. The reason that changes is now he's got 2 in front of him instead of just 1. You know, they have the dueling 8s where defensively he seems to be the one they play through. He covers a little bit more ground, and the offensive freedom, not as apparent to his normal partner, but now you still allow Velo to drop in. You've got speed on the outside from Tingy and Awua, and I like the relationship we see between Riley Bedois and Wesley Leggett. Really interested to see this team at full strength and deploy this type of system.
Yeah, that game against Oakland, when you see it at potentially full attacking strength for a pretty impressive display.
Credit though, look at Pittsburgh. They're not taking the bait right now, Mike. This is the word discipline that I use to talk about the roster build. Ryan Martin and Loudoun United, that's something that is synonymous with wearing a Pittsburgh Riverhounds jersey. You do not stray from the norm. Bob Lilly has very specific instructions. You follow them to a T, or he'll find somebody else that will. And what you're seeing right now is really good organization. Even when there's space opening up centrally, they're not forcing the pressure. They're letting Augie Williams recover, trying to keep it outside and not letting the ball come down the spine, most importantly.
Bob telling us this week, discipline, habits, work ethic, effort, mindset to defend. Those are things you can control. The ball hit the net or it won't. Knock to the head, sees Leggett struggling back to his feet alongside Jackson Walty.
Certainly just the referee making sure that no massive issue here as Wes Leggett takes one off the old noggin.
And then Walty takes that ball off the face.
Interesting start. I got to tell you, one of my favorite parts of the conversation with Bob Lilly was when he was breaking down this game, and he said that as good as they've been defensively, he hasn't been happy on the attacking side. Certainly the numbers speak for that as well. But before we dive into those numbers, he said that if I told you tomorrow that this game finished 1-0, you would tell me that that's a Pittsburgh Riverhounds win. I said, absolutely. Like, it's not even a question. And he goes, but if it was 3-1, you would favor Lowden in that conversation. I said, absolutely. Paused for a second and said, we're going to do everything we can to chase people's minds on that. We want to make this a 3-1 victory on our end. He wants to be a lot more aggressive going forward. They had aggression early. They just opened themselves too much up defensively, and instead they've been much better over the last 9 games on the defensive front. They're just looking for that complement coming up high. But it's not for lack of numbers going forward. They just need to be more efficient 20 yards and in.
On talking with this coach who, when his career is done, should be in the National Soccer Hall of Fame.
Not even a question.
He said, I can appreciate 0-0. And I think we chuckled when he first said that. This ball through to Leggett. Bidwa making the run. Swept inside, Leggett, a little more room. Trying to work off Tingy. He said, but I want to score goals too. I'm a fan of the game too. I just want to see my team score more goals while upholding the standard.
Now, I don't understand how, his words, you can allow goals to hit the back of your net, regardless of how many you're able to produce. He said, no matter what, we will always be a team. My teams have always been teams that eliminate as many threats possible from the opposition.
What a ball forward, swept ahead, it's Mertz. That was straight down Main Street.
I think Robbie Mertz has a little trouble as this ball comes up over the top, judging it. Great utilization of his speed as he slips in behind Tingy. And this is one of the areas that you can get Lowden because of how aggressive they are at the outside back position. Giannis Learman does well defensively, just keeps it in front of him to allow that weak side support on the Tingy recovery. Just the overall adjustment on the turf, the way that the ball bounces there, Mike, a bit troublesome for Robbie Mertz, but great movement coming forward.
Let's go back to this for 5 seconds longer, Devin. I think the concept of Lily Ball gets harangued by some fans who don't understand how much we respect it and how much other coaches do. Ball in, knocked high, Walty unloads, that bounce toward Mertz. Touched ahead by Griffin, looking for Barnes. But you had a Rowdies game a handful of years ago where there were 4 or 5 tactical changes based off one sub by Neil Collins, and we reveled in it. Bob Lilly does that every stinking week.
2021 Eastern Conference Final.
Yeah.
Louisville come back, or excuse me, Tampa Bay Rowdies come back over Lowden. One change that affected 8 different positions. And to your point about Bob Lilly, that comment of the 0-0, he also said, I know you guys can appreciate it as well. That's the mastermind that I referenced earlier, where he's constantly changing. He'll admit it, sometimes to a fault, but historically, he is the one who comes out on the positive end of that.
Walty leading. Mertz has to pull back at the byline. Biasi crafts across. Overcooked to Tidge. Hey, show off your team pride in style with official merch from shopusl.com. Check out brand new tees, hoodies, novelty items, and more of your favorite USL team at shopusl.com by scanning the QR code now. You and I were talking on Friday. Monterey Bay got it right with their brand new kit. We've got some Charlies on the field here as well in the Pittsburgh black and gold. Don't mind if I do. Although I've never looked good in horizontal stripes, but that's a whole different problem.
What sort of bumblebee was running around. This is really where I want to see the next step for the Pittsburgh Riverhounds. I mentioned the space as they start to build, whether transitionally or not. Jackson, Walty, and Griffin, as they've changed here, they're a little bit more side by side, Mike. So when they try and build going forward, Mertz and all, they rotate back and forth. Williams is always high, but there's always this 10 or 15 yard gap. There's the good look at it to the right side of the referee that they have really struggled building off of each other. It's just the willingness to commit. Either one popping off the front line to come down into that space and play through in a triangular fashion, or releasing a Danny Griffin to come up through, which he's more than capable of. They just haven't really gotten that part of this game right. The space is there, defensively set, but you gotta be willing to have that confidence to go and get it.
Highmark Stadium is a smoke-free and vape-free facility. For the safety consideration of all guests, we ask for your full cooperation. Thank you for keeping Highmark Stadium safe and smoke-free.
That's Mertz down. Collides with Tingy. Suber dealt with it. Williams. All. Skundrich covers a ton of ground, but he was never going to catch up to that ball. Walty. Hold up by Williams. A handful of years ago, it was Albert Dikwa who won the MVP up front for Pittsburgh. They've had some pretty outstanding goal scoring seasons. It's been a bit more by committee the last couple of years.
And Edward Kizza, Keziah Sterling. Of course, some of that was by committee. Robbie Mertz is still here. The great Canardo Forms no longer available for selection within the squad, though his brilliant mind now a part of the technical area for the Hounds. Dan Kelly at one point in time. And there's some pretty big names that have come through Hound Town.
Hound Town?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The AHN's important.
Leggett's on the wrong end of it again. Actually trained with Lowden back in the summer of 2022, Leggett did. So he was concluding his time playing for Dr. Dave Mazer at St. John's. A couple of Johnnies involved in this game. Nyman. Bidwa. Barnes trying to cover that ground. Ball whipped across. Bidwa got ahead to it, spun toward the line, hops out.
He's unfortunate based upon Lady Luck showing up on the back stick here. That's a good move by Luke Biasi. He's got two separate players he's got to close down on the ball movement from Loudoun United. Can't put it anywhere else if you're Florian Velo. And to be fair, the way that Bidwa leans in here, he's got to go forward. Instead, he just kind of drops onto it. If he extends his body, that's 2-1, no question.
Keep an eye on 8 at the top of your screen. Glancing header. You've seen Nyman pick up the seconds time and time again. Not the case here.
He's not exactly the one that's going to win any all-star votes for the height conversation, though did a good job making himself available, moving away to try and redirect. Quite difficult. Love the scenics here, always.
Best vantage point in American soccer.
It's still one of my favorite things to do whenever I get the opportunity is through coverage in USL or at the collegiate level. Usually I'm at a hotel across the river and there's a path that comes across the bridge. On the far side behind those boards, there's a trail. And if you keep your eyes open, you'll see people walking just behind the fence. It's part of a 5K trail. It was part of my morning run when I still had mobile legs.
You know, the funny thing is, you're like, yeah, I go by the trail over there. I had a game in the middle of the afternoon, maybe a 2 o'clock game in Pittsburgh here at this venue. So I waited until Primanti Brothers opened at 11 a.m., went and got a sandwich, and then sat in the parking lot and marveled. No, there's no walking.
Thought maybe you took the trail to get the Primanti Brothers shortcut.
No, that's called a car. I got a car.
Got it. How was it, by the way?
Oh.
Yeah, thought so. Not as good as the opening goal from Lowden, but
due
tasteful.
respect.
Tasteful.
Okay, well, careful up there. That's why you pay for the insurance. He seems fine. Good job, Zach. Took one for the team.
Thanks, buddy.
Fans, we're having a flash sale. Spend $30 in the team store before the 40th minute and get a free mini ball. Make sure to head over to the store now and take advantage of the special flash sale while it lasts.
Good win of the ball by Mertz. Biasi sends Augie Williams on a solo mission. Flicked on by Tingy. Reverse from Nyman, siphoned off. Attempt to hold that up, goes haywire from Leggett. Good slide by Walty to keep it. Tingy pursues. Well done on touch. Factor. It's a lot of contact on the backside. Awuwa got entangled.
I really wanted Guillaume Factor to let one fly there. Haven't gone after Hugo Ferrou a ton yet, and recognizing it's 25 yards out, it's still direct access, and that is very handsy if you're Kwame Awuwa. A bit fortunate, to be honest, especially with the referee staring right at you. It's something that he's going to keep at the forefront of his mind now. Won't be able to get away with much after that one.
Factor hasn't scored a goal, pro or college, since 2021. At UConn, he uncorked 13 shots in 4,200 minutes. Which is to say, he would have had to shout against his better angels to let that thing fly. Awuwa. I'm not saying he shouldn't have shot it.
You're uncorked. Listen, we're gonna getting an opportunity over the next couple of weeks. We've already had some between CBS Sports Network and the relationship with ESPN. Of course, next week, big CBS.
El Clamico.
El Clamico, Rhode Island FC, and Hartford Athletic. I get you on the field. I'm gonna see you uncork one.
Okay.
I don't think either manager is going to be overly happy with what's gone on in opening 33 minutes of this match. Some good moments for sure, but also some quite sloppy ones, to be frank. Ball's pinball around the pitch a lot, and nobody's really dominated any third of the field. So the overall battle chances attacking-wise have certainly favored Lowden, though Pittsburgh have had some glimpses.
Williams spots Mertz. Driven away by Keegan Tingy.
That's the space I was just talking about, though, right? When you build through, this is where they have to get better. You know, Augie Williams, great job work underneath. Ball's got to be cleaner as he plays it through. Trust his form. Lean through that with your laces a little bit more. That allows Robbie Mertz to run under it with some momentum. Already had the back post run coming from Charles All. It's a good movement, just a little bit cleaner overall to finish it off.
A hydration break here in Pittsburgh. Lowden the go-ahead, Pittsburgh append to equalize.
Fans, be sure to try our new July specialty meals. At the train, you can try the new summer sizzling pineapple burger and foot-long chili dog. And over at Nacho Junction, the new brisket nachos are all the rage. Make sure to get your hands on these.
Bob Lilly directing the troops. Riverhounds pulling level with Loudoun. And Devin, it's for the Riverhounds a similar start to a year ago, in where they didn't start the way they wanted to, but the way they finished the back half of last year just give them a lot of optimism by the way they're playing right now.
Not a bad start, but not a good start either. Just a goal against, but also only scoring 1 goal per game. So I've alluded to it a few times. Bob Lilly, they're willing to basically sit deeper and absorb more. They were dominant in possession. They gave that area up, but they started to create more on the attacking side. The biggest number that you're going to see, though, that's a misconception within all of this, is the goals. Creation has gone up. Their opponent has been able to create less, but they haven't been able to hit the back of the net. That sequence we just saw a second ago is a really good example of it. Overall goals per game right around 0.66. With as quality as they've been defensively and the numbers they've been able to create up high, there is no excuse except that in the moment, you have to be better.
I'll throw another stat at you to that affect in a moment. Corner for Pittsburgh. That is not how you do it. Bidwa unable to pull it away. Riverhounds have played 14 games this year, Devin. They have led the possession battle in 6. They're 1-4-1 when they have more of the ball. They are 5-2-1 when they don't. So if your superpower is offensive transition, being given the ball as often as they did in those opening weeks wasn't actually beneficial to them.
No, drew against North Carolina. They lost to San Antonio. They lost to Loudoun back in April. I mean, these are the games where they felt like if they had the brunt of it, they could control it. It was the exact opposite, right? So you flip that narrative, but what you're seeing right now, historically, is really how Pittsburgh have found some of their best results. That 2019 team that won the Eastern Conference, the 2023 team that produced an MVP. It's also where they produce the most goals, which is the biggest area of what Bob Lilly is looking for them to take a step up.
Throw for Biasi. If Pittsburgh weighs in a little heavy this week, the reason is obvious. They've got 3 birthdays in their starting 11 occurring over the next 3 days. That's a lot of cake. Factor turns 25 today. Griffin turns 27 tomorrow. And Biasi turns 26 on the 15th. His 100th game today. 18th Riverhound to get there. This is offside. A chance for us to tell you that coming up next, get ready for the ultimate clash of pins and precision. CBS Sports Network brings you the PWBA Green Bay Open. Augie Williams saying, "Who do you think you are?" I am. Goal number 79 of his career.
That's something you and I need to incorporate in our next USL Championship travel venture. Bowling.
Oh, I thought you were saying Green Bay.
I don't know if there's a team there. I know there's not.
We can go to Madison.
Well, there you go. Now we're talking. Flamingo might as well.
I think a Flamingo actually exists in perfect bowling form. You should see the booth right now. If 2 goals is a brace and 3 is a hat trick, if 3 consecutive strikes is a turkey, I imagine then a Flamingo would be 4. Mertz drilled. Upper St. Clair High School. Good enough to go D1. Ended up going to Michigan, was all Big Ten there. A couple years in Pittsburgh, couple years in Atlanta. Actually scored with Michigan against the Hounds at Highmark. Now at the age of 28, a verified Riverhound legend in his hometown. He'll lob this forward. Header snap back across the face. Walty. Mertz. Header back up, swatted at by Farouk. And undercut by Giannis Learman.
Decent look, though, for the Pittsburgh Riverhounds. Created a pretty congested chance on the redirect back across. The first one that whipped in by Robbie Mertz. I gotta tell you, I'm a little bit surprised we didn't see Perrin Barnes try and attack this one. Notice how he just stands on the first one and allows it to come. The second one, he starts to come out, not really enough pressure overall, and I didn't see a foul on that. That's his own player who steps in front of him. There's no contact by Barnes.
Biasi serves up, down by Williams. Second time an attempt to be the charm. It gets out for a corner. Farouk called upon, certainly put his whole body on the line.
Cole Turner gets beat on this one. Great job by Augie Williams. He baited him into it, then spun off onto the back shoulder, and as a center back, it's the worst spot to have a deadly attacker like Augie Williams. How's the recovery, though, by the goalkeeper? Right off his line, make himself big. Put fear into the heart of Augustine Williams to prevent the go-ahead goal.
You see Super Factor bouncing to the beat. Mertz. Awua intervenes a second time. Valo. It's not your boat running through the backdrop. To be so lucky. You can hear the rain pitter-pattering down. We are slated to evade the worst of it. Speared back to Farouk. Approaching Pittsburgh. Bertan Jacquesin available off the bench, getting healthier. Was a huge piece at the tail end of last season, 5 goals in 8 games. Gives an option for Pittsburgh. If you're Lowden without Abacora, the current leading scorer in the championship, and Zach Ryan, the leading scorer for this club a year ago. Not a ton of depth if you're chasing a goal. Your best option is probably Karamoko. He's only brought in on loan at the end of May, 19-year-old from DC United.
Oh, you're going under the assumption that they need to bring someone off the bench to get that go-ahead.
They may not.
I would say right now that if you're Ryan Martin, you're certainly happy with the start. I use the word stabilization for the schedule overall. To me, that's more about the midfield right now, trying to find a way to get Drew Skundrich more involved in the run of play. The reason he's not is because of the defensive work he's having to put up high on Griffin and Walty. He's drawn out when they pick up possession. He's got a lot of ground to cover. The good news is out of that, Moses Nyman has been very efficient coming off of the foot of Tommy McCabe in the build, and that's just the 3 guys trying to find rhythm together, as they've never played a match this season all at once from the start. And if you're Bob Lilly, defensively they've become a little bit tighter. You got to take chances here. and you've got to be willing to do it up high in one-on-one situations. People throw words around like brave, exciting, right? Use emotion to your benefit. When you've worked 80% of the field up, that's just about individual effort and who wants it more.
Skundrich gets beneath it. Pennsylvania native from Lancaster in the middle of the state. This from range. That is Danny Griffin. Little run by Skundrich. Never gets the credit he deserves, Ryan Martin said. Covers as much ground as any midfield player in the championship. Oh, a little extra elbow there. Has everybody up at arms. It's only going to be a yellow to Luke Biasi.
I think he's fortunate here. There's certainly contact, Luke Biasi. The right elbow. Wonder how high it is. Was he trying to protrude into the run of leg, or does he actually throw the elbow itself? That's a bit better of a look. Yellow card, right decision. Ryan Martin might not be happy with the situation, but that is very well done by the refereeing crew. The AR is right there, head referee. Good job in communication on the infraction overall.
5 added minutes, most of which comes from the hydration break that occurred in the middle of the half. 81 degrees, 72% humidity today, which is basically right at the cusp of needing a hydration break. Dick sets his line. It's about 16 yards off the goal. And there's Florian Vallot to put it in play. A trialist at Red Bull 2 for John Walnick, then became a major piece of the 16 title-winning side. Came up through Paris Saint-Germain and Monaco's youth academies. The Frenchman throws one arm up. Vallot, that's a scuffed clearance. And a misfired ball into the channel for Lowden. Vallot hadn't suffered those back-to-back ACL tears in 2018 and 2019. Could argue he still could have been with the Red Bull organization. Really carved out a place for himself. Went from there to Cincinnati, then to Miami. Ryan Martin told us if Drew Skundrich and Florian Vallot are going to set the marks for a team in high-speed running, in distance run, the young guys have no choice but to follow the lead. Big reason why Loudoun's made this work this year. That is the aforementioned Skundrich ensuring that Williams doesn't run. As a center back, I'm sure you never led the team in running, at least not any good team.
I take personal offense to that statement, actually. Any fitness test, I was right near the top, if not the coup de grace.
I'm not saying you couldn't, I'm saying you shouldn't.
But I did.
You did. That's what made him great. Makes him great, sorry. Present tense.
Couldn't win a fitness test. Speaking about me in past tense.
I believe they're also celebrating the mask too. That's the luckiest dog in the whole Pittsburgh metro area. This ball whipped across. Punched away through. That means the net's empty. Second punch gets the job done for a moment. Dropped out to all. Farou's never seen a service he doesn't want to attack. Ball lobbed up again. That'll be a throw.
The problem is the back line doesn't even see him coming. That means his voice isn't loud enough and he's not communicating that he's going to be aggressive. And within that, I actually think he's coming too high, Mike. That's got to be on the defenders to step out and go win some of these balls.
Edrach. Oh, whiff. The goalkeeper, Faru.
And if you're going to come,
you better get it.
You better be certain that you're going to be able to get it. There's no reason why you missed this one.
He's had some really bright moments in shot stopping, but once in a while. Oy vey. Well, the first goal was as picturesque as the Pittsburgh skyline opposite Highmark Stadium. Pittsburgh equalizing from the spot. This is probably the last chance of the half. Frew got it that time and sends us into the intermission.
And at halftime, we're tied.
Bidwa and Augie Williams. And we're level at the break here in Pittsburgh. Riverhounds, one of the best defenses in the league, undone by a brilliant movement from Loudoun United. But as soon as the opening goal arrived, it was handed right back to the Hounds. Highlights from the first half and a look ahead to our game on CBS next Saturday. Coming up.
The Riverhounds would like to wish a happy birthday to Eliana, Silas, Emma, Nakai, Lenny, Callum, and Grant. Birthdays are brought to you by All About Fun, providing everything you need to create birthday memories of your own.
Some halftime action after a wonderful first half. How about them Hounds? We're going to go ahead and get started with a little back to the future question trivia ways. But before we get started, we got Mark, we got Alex going head to head. Emma, what you doing back here? Emma's time machine? No, yeah, we all can read that. Yeah? You think you're going to go in there and go dancing and then make yourself short. Okay, stop. Pressing some buttons, I think. All right. You know, I've known Emma for a really long time, and I never really questioned too many things that he does anymore. And Emma's time machine here. Oh! Oh! I think we just figured out time
The USL on CBS Sports is presented by Best Western. City of oh so many bridges. It is as majestic a view as the championship can provide. So 2 goals in this game. It's 1-1. With Devin Kerr, Mike Watts, how about we take a look at the schedule around the championship midweek games on Wednesday and Friday to keep an eye on. CBS Sports Golazo Network will have Hartford and Tampa Bay on Wednesday night, North Carolina and Indy on Friday night, and on ESPN2, got a big fixture, Detroit and Pittsburgh.
These teams are all over right now. Indy on back-to-back wins. Detroit has had a massive slip down the table, just 1 win in their last 5. North Carolina FC seem locked in the top 4. That's starting to evade them, but I'm really looking at that Hartford Athletic, Tampa Bay Rowdies teams. Both teams starting to find form, and Hartford Athletic an opportunity to go 3 wins on the bounce before El Clamico on the weekend.
That's right, Devin. On Saturday, we are going clam hunting in Providence, or Pawtucket, New England.
Yeah, Rhode Island's got this magical stadium that has yet to really find its identity because this team hasn't found it. They were diverse in nature last year. They could attack, they could defend, they did it with a vengeance, but right now they're looking for combinations. That front line has really struggled with J.J. Williams, Albert Diqua, Maxi Rodriguez has yet to find his way into the mix, and then yet with all of it, Hartford Athletic is now just 2 games off the playoff line, just 1 win in their opening 10. They can defend, they can attack. Can they do it all in 1 game? That is the question for Brendan Burke and co.
Well, it'll be real and it'll be fun. Some might even call it real fun. It's on CBS next Saturday afternoon. Still plenty more to do here. Championship on CBS Sports is presented by Best Western.
It's a 50-50 split. I like it. What do you think? Aura farming. He's aura farming. That is correct. Marco for 2. All right, back to Alex. Are you ready? All right.
Which animated TV show featured characters like Tommy, Chucky, and Angelica? Ed, and Eddie, Rocket Power, Rugrats, Hey Arnold.
What do you think, Alex? Rocket Power. Fans, what do we think? Oh, no! Correct answer is Rugrats. All right. Let's go back. Just get 1 for me. Let's get 1. Last question for the old man here. 3 artists have each held the #1 spot for a new album for at least 3 weeks this year. Which artist did not reach that milestone? Playboy Cardi, SZA, Bad Bunny, or Sabrina Carpenter? What do we think?
Are those musicians?
All of them are. That is correct.
I'm gonna go with Zaha.
I don't even know if I want to ask this. Fans, what do we think? Oh, no. Correct answer is Sabrina Carpenter. Sabrina Carpenter, 0 for 3. We already have a winner, but we got 1 more question, so let's go ahead and do it. Alex, what was the name of the digital pet that kids fed and played with using a small keychain-like device? Nano Buddy, Tamagotchi, Gigapet, or a Furby? Furby? What do we think, fans? Oh, that's a lot of hate out there. Correct answer? Tamagotchi. Have you ever seen that word before?
Sure has one.
How did you miss it?
I don't know.
All right. Let's have a round of applause for both of our fans right here. They did their best and put their battle of the generations to the test.
Fans, it's time for you to take control of the music. Scan the QR code on the board now and vote for which song will get us ready for the second half. Right now, it's a 3-horse race. Party Rock Anthem, High Hopes, and Shake It Off, all vying for the spot right now. What do you want to listen to?
You already know what it is. It's the USL on CBS Sports, presented by Best Western. Loudoun United and the Pittsburgh Riverhounds, all square, 1 goal apiece. Mike Watts, Devin Kerr, who's having more fun than we are? Dev, what do you make of that first half between these two sides?
Fun start, certainly. I think for both of these teams, what you saw in the opening 45 minutes is kind of what we've seen over the course of the season, right? Almost, but not really there. That's how Pittsburgh have gotten to this point, though. And what I mean by that is defensively really, really good, lacking for ideas overall. But what got them in trouble early on was when they opened themselves up, they opened up space for Lowden. Lowden really direct, really vertical in this situation. Ryan Martin said that with this cast of personnel, he wanted to be more aggressive. He wanted pressure up high, more transitional in nature. Well, he got that. Great ball into the corner and leg it. Notice his head. Just a little peek up over the corner there. The run by Bedois is perfect between both center backs. Cannot allow that much space and time. Great start by Loudoun, 1-0.
And then just minutes later, the Pittsburgh fans are chanting, "Let's go, Pens!"
Response physically off the back line. They get direct down into the corner. Still not sure, even with the pressure underneath. Super gets away with one on Learman. Why is the arm away from the body? And instead, Augie Williams, as we've seen so many times before, now 79 regular season goals, 4th best all-time in championship history.
And then skip ahead to the 41st minute. It's a giveaway by Faroux and Pittsburgh into the final third.
This is where Pittsburgh struggles, but also where they need to take the biggest step. Now, good job on the pressure overall. Once they condense the field, actually want to see them work this back towards the top of the 18, Mike, only because of the amount of pressure that is on Augie Williams. You play horizontal, you come square, you have the chance to shift Lowden, get a better look at goal from a central location.
These are the first half facts, the figures. 66% the ball for Lowden in the first half. Riverhounds, more chances. Be careful, ball can bounce right into your living room. Lowden and Pittsburgh, 1-1 at the intermission. 45 minutes down, 45 minutes to go. The USL on CBS Sports is presented by Best Western.
And Riverhound fans, you know what time it is. It's time to get your feet up out of your seat because it's time to make some noise to get some energy going for the second half. And it's time for the T-shirt toss! Who wants a T-shirt? Let's go!
Tonight's travel map is brought to you by Best Western.
Moses Nyman, very active, good ground coverage, but the key thing for me, Mike, was taking that step out of the midfield into the final third. Second most passes into the final 30 yards for Loudoun United, and certainly his ability to create space on the opening goal in the first 15 minutes for Loudoun.
Here in Pittsburgh, before the match, we wanted to recognize the memory of Isabella Youngmeyer, passed away July 2nd, the age of 91. Isabella and her late husband, Louis, the first season ticket holders in Riverhounds history. They emigrated from Hungary in the 1950s, settled in Pittsburgh, ticket holders to the Phantoms of the 60s, the Indoor Spirit of the 80s, the Hounds for their entire 26-year history. A regular team and season ticket holder events, and she was beloved by players and staff alike. Lewis passed away in 2022, but Isabella was still at nearly every game with the help of family and friends. Their daughter actually shared photo albums containing more than 1,000 pictures of Hounds and Pittsburgh soccer history. The family's in attendance, and you saw their seats in section 104 vacant, memorial wreaths in place. We are at Highmark Stadium. It is year 26 of Riverhound soccer alongside the Monongahela. With Devin Kerr, Mike Watts, it is 1-1 in this hotly contested affair. In the middle of July, approaching the midway point of the season. Vital 3 points with Loudoun a chance to pull 9 points clear of the Riverhounds, or Pittsburgh a chance to move within 3 points of the top three. Rolled over by Skundrich and picked up by Pittsburgh. Tapped inside by Barnes. Interchanging position, allowing all to step in. Here's Walty. Kept away from the onrushing Awua. Maybe it was the collection of set pieces at the end of the half that made me feel like Pittsburgh was really gaining ground. Ball sliced across behind Williams.
Well, there was a trend there that I wanted to see if they were going to continue at the start of the second half, and they have. It's moving Perrin Barnes a little bit higher. They over pivot to the right, and as they flatten out Stuber and Factor, it allows Edrach to release. Now, the reason that's important is he's a quality center back with the ball at his feet, and he's allowed to step up into the midfield. He can invert himself. Bob Lilly has deployed him within the midfield previously, so that forces Florian Velo to rotate out. They lose the presence attacking wise, and then it's kind of that ripple effect, Mike, where okay, we're going to pivot right, we have space there. Well, if Florian Velo comes now, that opens up more opportunity for Danny Griffin and Jackson Walty. Just getting it right in the moment. That's been the main issue for the Hounds this season.
Suber knots it out. See on the banners, of course, the Riverhounds, but also the newly minted Pittsburgh Riveters. Best record in their conference in the W League earlier this year, made the playoffs in their inaugural campaign. Fell out to Minnesota Aurora, who've had an excellent run in the W League over recent years. Minnesota ousted in the semifinal this weekend against Utah. Utah United will meet North Carolina Courage under 23, the W League final. And of course, on the heels of the Super League Championship, made up all Floridian teams earlier in the summer. Skundrich was getting forward. Walty able to launch. And it's McCabe commits the foul. I'd love to see Pittsburgh jump into the Super League at some point, just tossing that into the abyss. And you know something? There is something to be said. Once Pro-Rel begins, I'd love to see where Pittsburgh stands in that conversation, to be fair. Into the final third go the Hounds. Ball tapped across. It's going to be a little bit late arriving at the end from Barnes, who's trying to rush forward. It's still on here through Edrach, who offers a curling ball in behind, runs behind Charles All.
Right on cue, though, the conversation 2 minutes ago, the advancement of Edrach and the high position. He's got such a good understanding spatially, Mike, of exactly where the next ball is going to come from, and he recognizes that all comes through. Mertz had worked to the other side. He's got to be the next player up. They're pinned back. Kwame Awuah can't react quick enough. Again, little layers that Bob Lilley has been able to tweak into this team on the attacking side.
Edouard earns the start. Zach Ryan's absence due to a red card. Flick back by Velo, over by McCabe. Walked ahead by Keegan Tingy. San Jose saw more at left back. Ryan Martin sees him as a right back. Took a little bit of adaptation to get to that point. I like what they've seen. Rolled over by Cole Turner. Awuah. Seeking ball Velo. If you get to this point in the season and everyone's right around that 50%, it's only a 30-game campaign. I think it's pretty obvious that Charleston and Louisville, especially if Lowden failed to take the full allotment here today, are starting to pull away from the larger pack as it pertains to the Players' Shield. But then who thought Rhode Island was going to play in the final in Colorado Springs at this point a year ago? Is there anyone you look at right now where you go, that's a team that could be there come the end of November when you and I call the final on CBS, outside of the obvious two at the top of the East?
But to be clear, we're staying in the Eastern Conference, correct?
Sure.
I'm impressed with North Carolina FC.
Yeah.
You know, it's John Bradford has, I talked about identity. He has set a standard within that group that is also similar to to Pittsburgh in the sense of you're going to work, right? They're not allowed as much freedom as you see from the front line of the Hounds. But I think within that, you also probably get a little bit more consistency on the defensive front, at least long-term, what we've seen this season. They need to get healthy on the front line to really convince me that they could go the distance. Evan Conway is a name that everybody's going to look at. But they're probably the one team that outside of Charleston and Louisville kind of scares me a little bit if I'm looking around the East.
Suber rolls it on. And of course, the way Pittsburgh finished the end of last year, the back half of the season, they had the third best goal difference in the East behind, yes, Louisville and Charleston, to the point where Bob Lilley told me with 2 weeks remaining in the season, no one wants to see us in the playoffs.
While they finished with the third best goal difference, they had the best in the final 16 games.
Yep.
And the third most goals overall. Just one loss in that span. They were my bogey team down the stretch last year.
Yep.
Right around 20, 25 games, you could see it start coming together, and that was the one that I looked at and thought, you know what, this kind of feels like the team that is going to make some waves come postseason time. The case was not made, unfortunately, for Bob Lilley.
And if you do the math out, we're talking about middle of August. We're going to be 2/3 of the way through the season the same way we were last year. It's just with the Jägermeister Cup, 4 fewer games in the regular season. So maybe we'll start to see that flesh out here in a couple weeks' time. The team that can get off on a run like Rhode Island did, like Colorado Springs did.
I have to be honest here and let you know that I'm very happy you didn't bring up the West.
It is a wet, unmitigated disaster. Ball hits Faru. 1-12 in the West. Came into the weekend defined by exactly 10 points. So we head out of the weekend. Ooh, it's 12. And the reigning champion are bottom of the West, but exactly 1 game out of 8th.
1 through 6, San Antonio, New Mexico, Tulsa, Sac, Phoenix, and El Paso. Regardless of order, they've convinced me they're postseason teams. It's the final 2 playoff spots that haven't really figured out exactly who, A, is going to have the ambition to go and chase it, and number 2, what they look like. You know, Lexington, I mean that again when referring back to what the structure of the team is. Not sure what Vegas is. Monterey Bay had a good win the other night. It was a different look than what we had seen previously. Orange County can open it up and yet can also look anemic at the same time.
Bob Lilly bellows. Ryan Martin still seated. Griffin, make that all, beg your pardon. Soars into the air, net came empty. Barnes just a hair slow to get to it. Charles All. Skundrich is unable to complete the clearance. It's still on for Pittsburgh. Toward Walty, sent away by McCabe. Regained, slipped inside. All got spooked by Skundrich. All.
He's not tracking the ball whatsoever, and indecision once again. Hugo Faru coming off his line. You know, easier said than done here, Mike, but that's one of those ones where when a goalkeeper's having that kind of day, wonder if you could goad him down a little bit higher, right? You start to lure Lowden in, allow them to come up. Now, careful walking into the Lions' den. That can also play right into the hands, as this is possessionally one of the better teams playing up high, especially in the defensive third. And if you do that, though, the amount of speed that you have and the quality, I wouldn't be surprised if you could cause a real mistake up there.
Well, and on this set piece, you're aiming it as far as Faru is able to run.
Penalty mark is right where you're at. Look at how high he is. He's already waiting to try and come and challenge this type of ball. The idea is to get one of your towers to push in through there, your Edracha, your supers, and get the little flick on with Faru off the line.
Driven forward that time, Faru stayed. You're scouting that, right? That kind of movement from a goalkeeper?
100%.
Ball whipped in again. Lowden repel. Hit diagonally into West Leggett. Bidwa rolls to deck.
Give them credit on their last-ditch defending, the Pittsburgh Riverhounds. That's very smart by Jackson Walty. Young defenders at home recognize there's the the run back to the inside. He just holds it, keeps his hits open, allows him to, once the ball is played, explode down onto the end line, Mike, and get in front of it.
Karamoko is waiting to enter for Loudoun in a moment. Be the first sub either way in this game. Below. Next Saturday, you won't want to miss it. A showdown in the Championship's Eastern Conference. Last season's final runner-up, Rhode Island, takes on Northeast rival Hartford Athletic. Saturday, July 19th, 4 p.m. Eastern on CBS.
Should be good weather, beautiful stadium. Everything they've done up there in Pawtucket.
It just set a new attendance record. Well over 10,000 at the game for Rhode Island last weekend.
Do you want to be popular? Bring your friends and
100%.
Wicked Night on July 29th.
That is.
Take on Miami. After the match, stick around for our
I do that for a living too, and I gotta tell you, I don't know that I have the political capital to swing to sing that read, but that is commitment to the bit. Wow.
Oh,
forgot something. Skundrich. Nice ball forward. Leggett. Sees Bidwa rushing.
Still go back to look how deep the midfield is, and as you start to look to the right side of your screen, not a single player from Pittsburgh Riverhounds willing to help in the middle of the park. Everything on the outside. Well, Loudoun's got that covered too. Defensively, for the most part, both of these teams pretty quality.
Here's the patience from Pittsburgh. Skundrich stepped in. Foul from Loudoun, should come with changes. And that is a tough way for Bidwa to Faradu to this game.
Checking out number 7, Wesley Leggett.
That is Santos and Karamoko coming in. And you will bid adieu.
A job well done, though, for Riley Bidwa and Wes Leggett early on. Good extension of this team that is all about ball dominance. And as they start running downhill, cone drills, Mike. Ball gets played down into the corner. Wes Leggett peeks into the top of the box, and Riley Bidwa, good timing to separate himself within the back line of the Pittsburgh Riverhounds. Ryan Martin's going to be very happy again. You lost a ton of goal production coming into the night. 14 of your 24 goals spread between Zach Ryan and Abdulatif Abukora. That's 58% unavailable. And yet inside 15 minutes, you get exactly what you asked of from your supporting cast members.
Pedro Santos, who arrived on a 25-day deal that extends now through the end of the year, back in March. His third substitute appearance. Karamoko, acquired at the end of May on loan from DC. His fourth substitute appearance. Replaced the aforementioned Bidwa and Leggett. Skundrich trying to dig it out. Santos. Touch got away from Karamoko. Lest we forget, Lowden dealing with the lack of depth. Comes with 2 key players out. They're also in the stretch of 4 games in 13 days, 2 of which ended with red cards, including the most recent 0-0 against Orange County, where they played 60 minutes down a man because of that Zach Ryan red card. So you can understand on a day that requires hydration breaks if they're just a little bit winded as well. They'll need these substitutes to come on and make an impact. Williams reverts, but ultimately it's the beneficiary, only to blow a tire. Walked ahead by Edrach. Header into the air. Tingy left some work to be done. That's McCabe coming back and saving the day. It's a foul from Awuah. And Pittsburgh will make their first changes.
We have substitutions for the Riverhounds.
Bradley Sample replaces Charles All. And then Bertrand Jacqueson coming in. Do you want to be Popule or Augie Williams? A penalty will do that.
And certainly not the way that he would prefer it, Augie Williams. He'd rather be doing this in the open run of play. And then again, you got 79 regular season goals to your name. I'm not sure you can be picky. Bob Lilly saying that he feels like he's on pace for somewhere around 7 or 8 goals this season. That's not good enough. And I say that in the sense of they have the ability to give him more chances in front of goal. You give him more chances, he's going to get you more goals, plain and simple.
It's a guy who Phil Neville told me a couple of years ago might be the top center forward in this country not playing in MLS. But last season, 10 goals, but 5 of them were against Miami, which means 5 against teams that were actually competitive. Ran out of room. Tingy to toss. McCabe. Mertz doesn't win the argument.
I don't think there's a ton in it here. I think Robbie Mertz, once we get another look at it, as he spins out of the pressure with Tommy McCabe. Tommy McCabe's so good in his duels, retaining possession in the midfield, and watch the left arm as he spins out here. That's just incidental contact on Tommy McCabe. Doesn't mean it doesn't hurt. Certainly not a necessity for a card, though.
And Mines should be next up here for Lowden in a moment. Ball slipped ahead. It's a alligator-like run, zigzagging back and forth. Well, not an alligator run as it might be. Ultimately, a foul drawn by Griffin.
The House next road match is against some team, I'm not quite sure who they are. They're from Michigan on July 18th. The rivalry renews live on ESPN 2 at 7 p.m.
Staring directly into the sun now. We'll reset the point of attack here through Barnes. Header above the bar, right on the doorstep.
We've seen some decent service over the course of the evening from Perrin Barnes. You've actually got good space there if you're Kwame Awua. Shouldn't allow this ball often. A couple of times over the course of the evening. Some weird bounces, Mike. Ball's drifting into the danger area. Player doesn't see it.
Whisked ahead. Pittsburgh into the final third again. Barnes. And that delightful service a moment ago. Header snapped at Faroux. That's Mertz.
There's just not much Robbie Mertz can do with it. Again, really good distribution from Perrin Barnes on the outside, but Robbie Mertz does just enough to even get ahead on it. Every mark covered, coming square back across, no late trailing run atop the 18, and you know, I don't want to keep beating the same old drum here, but that is the space that is so readily available to this Riverhounds team.
Ben Mines coming in, so too Robbie Dambrot. Double sub here for Loudoun United. It's a lot of experience they've been able to call on off their bench. Dambrot, Mines, Santos. Robbie's dad, Keith, the longtime head coach at Duquesne. One of the only coaches who can say, I've won more games than Bob Lilly. He's got over 500 to his credit, including a couple of years the high school game where he's coaching LeBron James in Akron at St. Vincent St. Mary. And Dambrot retired after helping the Dukes reach the NCAA tournament. He was actually on the, I think it was still called Mind the Game podcast with LeBron. He's back here to Faroux. Let's take a look at the Best Western upcoming schedule. Pittsburgh back on your TV on Friday night. Detroit City and the Hounds on ESPN2. And then we'll be on site in Pawtucket at the brand new stadium at Tidewater Landing. Rhode Island and Hartford on CBS. Then Detroit and Westchester. That's a League One championship matchup in the Jägermeister Cup. Comes your way on ESPN2. That'll be the final match day of the group stage of the expanded Jägermeister Cup. And most teams are still alive.
It's the best mess of the tournament I've ever seen. 30 of, what was it, 30 of 36?
38.
38, yep.
Good little give and go here. Pumping the brakes. Foul! Hammered home by Mertz! It's the hometown hero! Robbie Mertz puts the Hounds ahead!
Ryan Martin wanted to win second chance balls, but Bob Lilly and the Hounds have made an absolute amazing living on being able to do such. Edrach off the back line, the header that comes vertical, quickly coming up higher by Danny Griffin. Just a servant to the game at this point. With Robbie Mertz in his advanced position, no reason, 4v1, and the goalkeeper off the line that he should be allowed to get a shot off, and yet the greatness of the Pittsburgh native shines bright once again.
He merged around and put Pittsburgh ahead. The 73rd minute of play, his fourth this season. And a hydration break for Loudoun comes at just the right time to be able to figure out what's next. If you're Pittsburgh, how many teams in this planet would you rather face less trailing by a goal at the end of a game?
Think about it for Pittsburgh too. What's the whole argument been, right? If they open it up, they do just fine. It's what's underneath they've struggled with, and they haven't been able to get that collection of players to provide the support onto that front line. Sometimes the direct method's also the easiest, in theory anyway. And for Robbie Mertz, gets himself out in front, even off the deflection, stays with it. Just the intensity level for Lowden that has dropped really since the 30th minute or so of this match, allowing the Hounds to now take full control.
Skundrich trying to ensure the team's all on the same page. Mertz and Pittsburgh a chance to get above 500, maybe win their 4th straight game. It'd be 5 wins in 6. And if you look at what's coming up for them, Devin, they go to Detroit next Friday, and then they play a stretch of 4 straight games at home, 3 against teams in the Eastern Conference over about a 20-day span. Miami, Rhode Island, Orange County, and Charleston. At minimum, they're favored in 3 of those. They could start a tremendous run that sees them the better part of what, 8 wins out of 10, something like that. That's a third of the season.
Yeah, and removing Charleston Battery from this conversation, but 3 teams in Orange County, Rhode Island, and Miami that are struggling right now.
Yes.
Struggling for consistency and results. And yes, one's in the Western Conference, but the ability to distance from Miami, from Rhode Island, but also close space on what has been a foregone conclusion that Charleston, Louisville, and Loudoun were going to run away with those top 3 spots. That's not the case anymore, with Pittsburgh virtually tied with North Carolina for that 4th spot.
Skundrich exacting a pound of flesh, goes into the book. And make no mistake, if you're Pittsburgh, we've seen this place for Open Cup quarterfinals, we've seen it for Eastern Conference finals, overflow, late at night, lights are on. This is a nightmarish place to go at the end of October, start of November. Stays with the Hounds.
You got to make a decision here with just inside 15 minutes to go. If you're Loudoun, how much are you willing to open the game up at the best? Yes, direct, they played well, but combination in the midfield, that's certainly going to be a yellow on Bradley Sample. High pressure on the challenge on Drew Skundrich. I recognize that the more aggressive you come, Mike, the more direct you go with this Riverhounds team, who is willing to come up higher now. You also open yourself up to more. Ow, that's gonna leave a stinger. But the tenacity to come from behind and chase a result overall, something that Loudoun hasn't really had to do this season after scoring the opening goal, near perfect on the year. Remember, goal in the 7th minute by Riley Bedois. They had avoided defeat in their previous 12 matches. Their last loss was in April of 2024 when scoring their first goal. And they are 4-0 on the season when they've grabbed the opener.
Tonight's post-game meal partner is Noodles and Company. Noodles and Company has a dish for everyone, from mac and cheese to Italian.
Looks like Ryan Martin is writing out instructions. Change is coming. 3 goals in this game. Pittsburgh equalizing and eventually grabbing the advantage, but the 7th minute, it was all Loudoun.
They were direct, they were honest with themselves, and they were willing to go after this Riverhounds team. And in transition, the back line, it's not often you see the Riverhounds concede an opportunity to a striker like that. Riley Bedois dissects them, 7 minutes in, 1-0, but just 5 minutes later, good pressure on the long ball into the corner that creates the penalty and an opportunity for Augie Williams from 12 yards out. Now 79 goals to his name, 1-1 after 12 minutes. Some changes made. Certainly the Riverhounds, they had took control of this game. Now, they didn't have a lot of high quality opportunities. I kept saying, if they wanted to open up, they would benefit if they would challenge the goalkeeper to come off his line. Guarantee a mistake would be made. Not just the goalkeeper, but 3 defenders on the back line against 1 Robbie Mertz, who gets the better of him and puts the Hounds out in front.
Well, Skundrich takes that knock and is coming off now. His wife, featuring for the Washington Spirit, the U.S. women's national team, Andy Sullivan, announcing her pregnancy back on February the 14th. Wishing all good health and happy times looking ahead for them. Hopefully for Skundrich, it's just the weight of 80 minutes that brings him off the field rather than an injury of substantive nature. Alex Nagy is set to come on, or that's the thought. If it is in fact a head injury, you could have a 6th substitute. And given where the contact was made, you would think that's going to be the card they've handed in. So they will make a double change here, and Jeremy Garay will come in as well. Just his 2nd appearance for the club this year.
We have substitutions for Lowden. Checking out number 16.
So Skundrich and Turner off. They bring in 2 midfielders.
Now in number 13, Alex Nagy, and number 21, Jeremy Garay.
Ball ahead, There is contact. The referee is going to give a free kick. And then there's the second part of that discussion.
I gotta be honest here. I wouldn't be surprised if it. See, that's frustrating if you're a player. How you don't have a conversation with your AR on the sideline. Dogzo situation, Mike.
Because if he does get onto that, it's just the goalkeeper in front of him.
100%, and the goalkeeper's probably about 10 yards away, at least in real-time action. The flick on by Karamoko, really well done, and that explosion up through the middle from the substitute Alex Nagy. I am shocked that they are not having a conversation. Now, there's no VAR in the championship. The idea behind it is going to be, is he making a play on the ball? It doesn't look flagrant in the moment. It's hard to see the overall pressure. He's trying to get the foot up on it, but that's what Florian Velo is saying here. There's no other defender in the area, and you're in scot-free if not for that infraction.
One way a referee described it to me is once the foul occurs, take the fouling player out of the equation, essentially erase him from the picture. And what's it look like then?
One-on-one with the goalkeeper.
It looks like a breakaway
100%.
for either Nagy or Mines.
And how that changes, it's not a penalty, it's a straight red. The ball's still where it's supposed to be, but given the criteria of what you have to hit, is it a deliberate move on the ball? That's probably the one that it's the most of a gray area here. It's direction to goal, check that one off. Players as well, because the goalkeeper's the only one that's really got a say in it.
Santos and Velo were standing by the ball.
Correction, the yellow card on the Hounds is on number 23, Guillaume Vactor.
So Vactor is shown yellow. That is quite the steel curtain that Pittsburgh has put up. And Lowden has a chance to equalize in a pretty magical way right here. Winding up, firing into the wall, Santos denied. Velo back into the penalty area. And a free kick to Pittsburgh.
It's not the best chances, is it? From outside the box. Right at the wall, to be fair. Job done by the Hounds. Kill off the game, crowds into it. A high mark has been set for this Riverhounds team over the stretch of games that in league play have pole vaulted themselves into a conversation for a top 4 spot. 4 wins in 5.
And they'll be playing sooner than most others. Joe Malfa, Ricky Lopez, Espin will have the call ESPN2 on Friday night, Detroit and Pittsburgh. And if Pittsburgh sees this out, they can catch Loudoun. From where these teams began, that is a remarkable achievement. Loudoun looks forward to a home game against Oakland on Saturday next week. Then they'll go to Tulsa, who've arguably been the biggest surprise outside of Loudoun County in the championship this year. Then to Rhode Island and host Indy into the middle of August. The thing is, I think if you were an ardent watcher, you aren't that shocked by Loudoun. What Luke Spencer has done in Tulsa, take a bow, man. What a great start to his managerial career. Ball knocked down by Mines, couldn't offer it back to Velo. Clean win of the ball. As far as Mines could get. Kwame Awua. Brought in by Nagy. Head for Mines. Touched out to the end line. Set piece gifted to Loudoun. Pittsburgh is used to subs. They are allowed 4 more over an additional 2 windows. Take a look at Robbie Mertz, the go-ahead.
Well, they recovered him a couple of years ago, bringing him back from Atlanta United, a man who grew up in the area, came up through the youth program. And after his stint with the MLS squad, felt like this was the right direction for him to go. No question of the quality that Robbie Mertz can bring to the field of play, and always nice to see him get on the score sheet.
Mertz so good. And Atsu is the dog who's been let out. It's just not enough of the Baja Boys anymore.
Was there ever?
Well, they have several other hits.
Sure.
I can't think of them, but
just keep an eye on Yanis Learman. They're going to try and double here. Bottom side of your screen, Jackson Walty marked up against his former teammate while at Pitt.
All over, Broughton came for it. Twisting back, toward frame, what a save! Oh, Eric Dick! Turns away Karamoko! Throws his hand up, fully erect, knocks it above the bar. From frame, wide.
Well, this is exactly where they were aiming, right where we talked about. Yanis Learman draws 2 defenders out, and as it pinballs itself around, Karamoko against Bradley Sample, puts him on skates. It's amazing the balance that he's able to keep here to get this ball up. Not as far into that upper corner as they'd like it to be. Still very difficult for Eric Dick to pick up. Hard save, but for last year's goalkeeper of the year, makes it look really easy.
He's up for the Golden Gloves again, and somehow Dick got a hand on it. Keeps it 2-1. Larson in for Pittsburgh at the stop for Perrin Barnes. So that's 5 subs, 3 windows, but with the concussion substitution utilized by Loudoun, you can make 1 additional change if you're Pittsburgh down the stretch. You can also potentially put it to bed with 1 more goal. That 3-1 margin that Bob Lilly is prepared to convince you is the standard. soars off the head of Dambrot.
I still believe they have the ability with Ben Mines' wheels. I mean, he's got good pressure on the backside. They just went into him there. But play a little bit quicker and take advantage of space in behind. You have the opportunity to be direct, and it's almost a necessity at this point with time remaining. No need to get cute in possessional moments. Look, you can build for sure, but Pittsburgh's still showing you the cards that they're going to come and apply pressure, probably a little bit higher than Bob Lilley would like, to be honest.
7 added minutes.
That's a gift.
Awuwa. Linzewine and Garcia, the only options remaining for the Riverhounds off the bench. They do have that one window and one substitute remaining. Awuwa speared high, and a laser beam goes up above the bar. So good, we want to see it one more time. What a save by Dick.
Look at all the bodies in front of him, tracking the whole way. I mean, he is honed in. Look at that little peek by him. Well done, Eric Dick. You can see him recognizing exactly where the position has placed itself outside the 6, just peering around the shoulder of his center back.
Came out of Butler, landed in Kansas City, spent a lot of that time out on loan from Columbus to Minnesota, and then really a chance to be the guy here in Pittsburgh, and he has been, on the whole, brilliant. Back to Velo. Couldn't slide it over. Now the chance is on and in! Ben Mines! Lowden's done the unthinkable. A goal down in stoppage time. They're level in Pittsburgh.
A bit lucky here. It's not the best ball, to be fair, by Pedro Santos. But when it comes right up through the middle, the space in between the back line and the midfield doesn't close itself out quick enough. Just discussed Ben Mines and his speed. This time it's his reaction. Fortunate the way it pops out to get something off. You want better defensively, you expect better from the goalkeeper and Eric Dick. Not that hard of a save instead. Lowden able to equalize.
That is his first league goal in nearly 2 years. July 15th of 2023 with Miami against Charleston. He managed a goal earlier in the year in the Open Cup, along with 3 helpers as well. He scored against Virginia Dream in a second round match. And Devin pulling out the Windex for the crystal ball and finding a guy who hadn't scored in 2 years and saying he's got something tonight. Saw that right. Karamoko against Edrach. Into the shadows. Tries to flick by. This is impressive, and it's pounded away by Griffin.
We have a substitution for
Final
the
sub
Riverhounds.
of this game.
Checking out
The
number
12th.
42, Jackson Walty.
This is Garcia on for Walty. Leading with 10 minutes left, Pittsburgh has taken 21 points from the 7 games. but conceding first, just 1 point from the 8. In theory, something was going to give tonight. Ball flicked onto the back post. Still another 2.5 minutes to go.
It is impressive how Loudoun have been able to recover throughout this match, but shouldn't be a surprise. They've now scored 6 goals in the final 15 minutes of a match. Only New Mexico United, sitting near the top of the Western Conference, and Louisville City have been able to accomplish more.
Chested over by Larson, couldn't corral.
Nice to see, by the way, that just over the halfway point, as quick as a start as it was for San Antonio and fell off, they are now back where they feel they belong.
First place.
3 wins in their last 5, just 1 loss in that same window. 2-point gap. Oh.
The referee is going to let play continue. Karamoko just sped away. He has been so impressive, and he hits it from long range. Won't surprise Dick from that distance.
That was a nasty challenge on the opposite end on Ben Mines. He took a cleat right across that thigh area, and well done for our referee to let it play on. Thought Karamoko could break free to come back and then issue a yellow for the foul itself.
I thought he'd make contact higher on the leg. In that sense, it's a little bit more
Tony Award
palatable.
nominee. Hopefully it's not the only piece of hardware they pick up this year.
Dick sends it forward, header down, trying to take it off the turf. Lifted up and away. That is a terrifying moment. And now a free kick conceded by Pittsburgh.
I don't know why he doesn't hit it first time with his right foot. Oh, the ball sits up so nicely for him on the flick on. You have the ability here, Brigham Larson, as it comes to his right side. Take that off the right. He just gets a little bit confused with the bounce, has to readjust his body to then try and pick out the far post.
We had a couple of stoppages here in the added time, including the goal. How much time really remains? It's full time. It is 2-2. For the first time all season, Pittsburgh dropped points when leading in the final 10 minutes. Lowden gets that 90+2 equalizing goal. Coming up next, it is the PWBA as Rhode Island and Hartford continue our coverage on CBS next Saturday afternoon. For Devin Kerr, our entire crew, Mike Watts saying this has been a presentation of CBS Sports Network. The USL on CBS Sports, presented by Best Western.
Wednesday.
What do you think?
Not you. Just more everyone.
More cowbell.
Mine, mine, mine.
Mine, mine, mine.
Thank you. Was it for Family Guy, greased up deaf guy? Oh no, see you in the theater. Devin's doing TikTok.
No.
Devin's proving to his wife where he is.
Oh, I'm laughing because it's true.
That could have been anywhere.
Yeah. How'd you get in the boob tube? My
The boop tube?
That's what my history teacher called it in college.
The USL Championship weekend concludes in scenic Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. A 2-1 win for neither team because I got the result wrong.
A 2-1 win for neither team. Don't be a dick.
The USL Championship weekend concluding in scenic Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and a battle of two teams with playoff aspirations finishes 2-2, Pittsburgh and Loudoun. Mike Watts, Devin Kerr to wrap this one up. Devin, ultimately, it's Loudoun that comes away and steals a point at the very end. It was a competitive game.
Listen, you want the level between both of those teams to be higher. Let's be clear about that. Both managers come postseason time, they'll expect more. But that's a character performance by both of these teams because the slow start by Pittsburgh and the lack of personnel up top. Remember, 58% of their goals unavailable coming into this game based upon suspension and injury, and yet inside 10 minutes, Loudoun in transition go up 1-0.
It's Bidwa in the 7th and the 12th minute. The Pittsburgh fans saying, let's go, Pens.
Good recovery immediately. Any manager will tell you, you got to throw a punch right away. They went direct into the corner. They get away with a little shove on the backside, but Mr. Automatic from the spot, Augie Williams, gets it back to 1-1. Momentum back to the Hounds.
Skip ahead to the 73rd minute. Momentum to the hometown kid.
They controlled everything here, so they started to dominate within the midfield. Felt like they became a bit predictable in nature and needed to open things up. If you don't have support underneath, go simple, go direct, and go to Robbie Mertz because he makes them pay. 4 separate defenders and a goalkeeper. 5v1, Robbie Mertz gets the better of him.
Then to stoppage time, mine.
Carry belief. Listen, one of the best teams in the championship statistically of getting production off the bench is Loudoun United. Hard to argue there's a better manager who recognizes players in a moment that can make an impact. Ben Mines now 4 goal contributions coming off the bench. Top 5 in the championship, and most importantly, salvaging a point on the road to remain within reach of the top 4.
Loudoun remains in 3rd place, and Pittsburgh makes it 4 consecutive games unbeaten. It finishes in Pittsburgh 2-2.
Unhinged. Not okay.